Good morning.
Good morning.
So today we're going to go over budgeting. And budgeting is something that you're going to learn in this class for the next week or two, but it's also something that you're going to be able to use the rest of your life and helping you realize what you can and cannot afford with the income that you have. So there are different types of incomes that you're going to get in your life. Sometimes you're going to be paid hourly. Sometimes you're going to have a salary. Does anybody know the difference in hourly and salary?
Hourly is, like, how much you get paid by the hour for how many hours you work. So if you work $8 an hour for 40 hours a week, you get
$320.
that.
And a salary is something that's, it's already fixed. It's kind of like a fixed income. So no matter how many hours you work, you make the same amount of money. So there are different types of like gross income and net income. So a gross income is when you make a total. That's what you make before your taxes, your Social Security gets taken out. Your net is after that. So the net is what you'll be basing your budget off of, because that's actual spending money. Your net income is your spending money. So when you look at your paychecks, you guys are co-op students. When you look at your paycheck, it's going to say gross income and net income. Your net income is that's what's liquidable. That means I can spend every bit of that.
They take out of your gross income, right?
They take out of your gross income, exactly. So the things that you look at is in your budget is, okay, I have power bills, water bills, car payment, car insurance. But after all that stuff is gone, what's my leftover? So say I want to buy a car or a video game, or I want to go buy a new dress.
Morning, Kate Burns, report to the office for sign out.
So that extra is what you have left over that can be spent on that. So in order to budget, so if you brought $320 a week home and your bills were $300, you have $20 extra a week to spend on something else. Put it in a savings account, save it up till you can buy the game. So when we don't have a budget, or we don't try to see what our extra money is, a lot of times we get in trouble. It's a huge risk not to budget and make sure, because if you overspend, then you're either having to put money on a credit card, or you're not able to pay all your bills. And not paying your bills can cause evictions, can cause things to get taken away from you. So we need to make sure that we can all afford what we're buying. So I gave you a practice worksheet right there, and it starts talking about a person working at Wendy's, how much she makes an hour, and how much money she will earn. So what she earns is her gross, but what she's got spendable out of what she earned is her net. So then with your budget, you take that money, which is a little over $2,000, you take that money, you work it through all your bills that you have to pay, and what's left over is your excess, and that's what you can spend on your game, your new car, or seemingly anything that you need that you don't already have in your budget. So the second question says, Josh works at Waterways during June and July each summer. He makes $10.50 an hour and will work 35 hours for 8 weeks. How much money will he earn? So in that, it's the same scenario, but he's working for a summer job to get a video game or a tire for his side-by-side. It's different than working a full-time job, having a family, and having more responsibilities. The thing you need to understand is when you become an adult and you get out in the working world, you can't just plan for video games and things like that. You've got to budget yourself in case you do bust a tire on your car or your car breaks down. Sometimes that excess money has to be spent for that. So we can go above and beyond, budget it, figure out how much an extra tire costs, how much a breakdown costs, how much a busted pipe costs, add that in to our budget, and then that extra we can spend on other things such as video games and dresses and just whatever you like. One of the biggest things that goes against your budget is eating out. People do not write down fast food and restaurant food. Entertainment, that goes against your budget, and that can actually turn your budget upside down at different times. So in order to make your excess, a lot of times you will want to work extra. Don't put that extra income in your budget, because that extra income can also be excess that can be saved and put to things that you want. Because if you put it in there, you're gonna spend it. Okay? So,
It always feels like there's not quite enough to go around. You're constantly having to make tough decisions about what you can forgo, and it never feels like you're really in control of your finances.
Well, when you need a bit of inspiration, look no further than the front of a $1 bill. I'm talking about this guy, George Washington. Besides being the first president of the United States, General George Washington was the commander of the ragtag Continental Army during the Revolutionary War. He must have felt like he never had enough soldiers to go around, but by making a plan, he was able to lead that army to victory over the greatest fighting force in the world.
You can take a cue from George by becoming commander-in-chief of your finances. Each one of these is a soldier in your army, and your battle plan is a budget.
I know, the word budget makes most people want to go AWOL. In fact, according to a 2016 Gallup poll, only 32% of couples keep a written budget of any kind. But if you were a soldier, would you want to follow a general who was making it up as he went along?
A lot of people tend to think of budgeting as prediction, estimating what you'll make in future months and how you'll want to spend it. But the most effective budgets work exclusively with present dollars. After all, you can't give orders to soldiers that don't exist. So the size of your army is only how much money you currently have in your bank accounts. And as general, your role is to give every last one of those soldiers a job to do. So, if you have a total of $10,000 across all of your accounts, you need to decide how much of that you're going to spend this month and how much you're going to set aside for savings.
Before we can decide how much we want to spend, we need to know how much we're spending now. Print out your last 3 months of bank statements and put each expense into one of 5 categories.
Essentials. These are the things you can't do without. Rent, utilities, groceries, gas, car payments, health insurance, anything you need to live or do your job effectively.
Security. These are expenses that increase your financial stability, like building emergency funds or paying off debts. Don't double count credit cards in this category, though. If you use a card to buy groceries, that expense should go in essentials.
Goals. This is money you set aside to achieve big life goals, like saving up to buy a house, starting your own business, or taking a special vacation.
Lifestyle. These are expenses that help you navigate your social world. Personal grooming and apparel, gifts for friends and family, gym memberships, even pet needs can go in here.
Discretionary. This category is all about treating yourself. Going out to dinner, renting a movie, buying a video game, or getting a massage.
Everyone has their own priorities, but think of this as a good battle plan template, with the most urgent needs at the top and the more flexible ones towards the bottom. Now that you know how much you generally spend on these categories, you can start assigning your soldiers to next month's duties.
Unless you're living paycheck to paycheck, you probably have some money left over. But don't let those soldiers just sit around. Decide what you're saving them for. Is it an emergency fund or a Hawaiian vacation? Savings that have explicit purposes are a lot harder to steal from.
Congratulations, you've made your first month's budget. Now how do you make it stick? Number 1, write it down. You can use a spreadsheet, an app, or good old pencil and paper. But no general ever won a war by keeping all their strategy up here.
Number 2, update it. Conditions on the ground will change, so re-strategize at the beginning of every month, and you'll have new soldiers to deploy in next month's battles.
Number 3, use advanced technology. Thanks to the dozens of budgeting apps you can download for your phone, no one has to keep a checkbook longhand anymore. This can be especially helpful for discretionary spending. Now you can know right away whether you can afford that Weird Al album on vinyl.
So how do you know you're budgeting correctly? Well, the most obvious answer is that you're less stressed.
Imagine enjoying a dinner out without worrying about whether or not you can afford it. Imagine not holding your breath every time you check your account balance. You'd be amazed how much you can improve your mood just by introducing more clarity and control into your finances.
Okay, now that we've got past our initial talking about budgeting, here is just a normal budget template that a lot of people use. So you start out with your rent. Could be a house payment, could be your rent.
Next, we have following students in the office.
Could
Matt
be.
Price, Elijah Johnson, Brandon Kent.
So
Colton
when
Walker.
you have a house payment, with that house payment becomes property taxes. So yes,
Are house payments, are they monthly or like weekly?
house payments are monthly. And so most rental is monthly. It's better to buy a house if you can, because the money that you're spending on rent can be put into a house, and that gains equity. Okay, so that means that if you're paying that payment and paying against that house payment, when you sell that house, that's the money that you can get back from it. So it says property taxes, homeowner's insurance. Homeowner's insurance is a major thing, even renter's insurance. Because if something happens in the place you're staying and it burns down or floods, if you got renter's insurance or homeowner's insurance, it covers everything that you have. So once you total your housing up, then you're gonna come to household products like food, groceries. The average family today of 2 adults and 2 kids spends about $500 to $600 a month in food. So you have to look at every month. We have to have food. We have kids. If you don't have kids, it's going to be lower. But today's world, food prices are high, and they went up since COVID. So our next one are our utilities, which will be power, water, sewer, and cell phone and internet. So those are things that everyone has. You might not have sewer, you might have your own septic system, you might have well water. I mean, we live in rural West Virginia. Some people have well water and septic tanks, which you wouldn't put that in your equation, but
How's your leaf doing?
it's okay. There are always going to be internet in rural West Virginia. We go to a lot of places around here and there is no cell phone. Your cell phone is your life now, so you need to put that in your budget. Everybody, just about everybody over the age of 18 owns a cell phone. So you might as well put that expense in there. Some people's going to have child care. If you are the married couple with 2 kids, you've got to put the child care, and child care is expensive. Child care in today's world is about $30 a day per kid. So you add that up, if you work 5 days and your husband works 5 days, or your spouse works 5 days, you're looking at $300 a week just to take care of your kids. That's a lot. So you've got to put that in there, because that can crash your budget right off. Just like I was saying earlier on miscellaneous stuff like fast food and entertainment, such as going to the movie, going to the Sky Zone or whatever. If you don't put that stuff in your budget. So here's the other thing though. When you're budgeting like your extra tire or your broke down car, when you use your salary and you've got extra money, once you pay the proverbial tire off, take that out. And if you want to pay something else off, in the future, in your budget, put it in. But if not, it's just excess money. So when I was growing up, we called it mad money. So it was something that if, my dad always accounted for a broke down vehicle, road water line in the house. And once he had all that paid, or what he thought was put in a bank account, that extra money was like mad money. It was like, let's go out and go to the movie or go out and eat. So then you get down to paying, one of the biggest expenses you're gonna have that you're not gonna get anything out of unless you do wreck is your auto insurance. Because auto insurance can be, if you don't have a good driving record, can be a big weight on your budget. Because auto insurance is something that you have to have. And in the state of West Virginia, you cannot drive around without auto insurance, even if you own your vehicle. So it's gonna be $100 to $150 per person per month. So it is a necessity, but the only way you're gonna reap any benefit from it is if you wreck. Okay? So your car payment, which is something we already talked about. Payment comes gas, maintenance, registration, licensing. So your car license will cost you about $50 a year. It's just normal things that, county, city governments, state governments want their fee for your vehicle. There's some other budgets that I will put on your Schoologies. Anybody got any questions about these budget templates so far? So, in conclusion, we've learned different templates. We've learned how to use our incomes, our net incomes, our gross incomes, and we've also learned what a salary and what hourly rates are. We're understanding that we also have to budget for miscellaneous costs inside of our budget that may be things that we don't really necessarily need, but we want, or something that just to get out. Car breaks down, you gotta get a hotel room. There are a lot of things that you need to put in your budget that aren't everyday expenditures. And it's easy to take your weekly, monthly income and generate it into this budget and try to make sure that you don't overspend. Because one day when you get out in the world, you're going to have to put a lot of effort in this so that you don't have to file bankruptcy or you don't lose something that you want, your house, your cars, could be your boat. And you wanna be able to make sure that you can buy your kids clothes, shoes, any kind of food they want, video games, computers. So one thing that I leave you with is that always try to understand your income and your expenditures. Because if you don't, it can overwhelm you and take control of your life, which is something you don't want to happen. I promise you. A lot of you all have seen a lot of people lose their house, a lot of people lose their cars, a lot of people not be able to get food for their kids, not be able to get clothes for school. And it is a very, very hard thing to do. So you don't want that to happen in your life. So hopefully everything works out for you and you succeed, and we'll talk about this a little bit more tomorrow. Thank you.